Can you legally take over a credit account? Can you really take over someone else's credit account and have it report as your own? Yes, but only if you understand the legal rules. This is the insider breakdown no credit repair company wants you to see. 1. What it means to assume a trade line. You must begin with an accurate understanding of what it means to assume a trade line. To assume a trade line is not merely to become an authorized user on another person's credit account. Rather, it refers to the contractual transfer or assignment of liability and account ownership from one party to another, either through creditor-approved assumption or lawful novation. Assuming a trade line entails that you become the primary obligor on the account. This means the original debt, along with its payment history and terms, may now attach to your personal credit file as if you were the originating borrower, provided the transfer was lawfully executed, accepted by the creditor, and reported in compliance with Metro 2 guidelines. This assumption must be voluntary, fully disclosed, and often requires the original creditor's formal approval. If the assumption is executed without the creditor's consent or outside lawful reporting channels, the trade line may either fail to report, be removed later as invalid, or trigger credit reporting violations under the Fair Credit Reporting Act, FCRA. Footnote. This section defines trade line assumption as the lawful transfer of credit account liability to a new party, distinct from authorized user status. 2. Legal conditions for trade line assumption. You must recognize that trade line assumption is a contractual act governed by both state contract law and federal credit reporting regulations. You cannot assume a trade line unless certain legal conditions are met. First, there must be full consent of all parties, the current account holder, the prospective assumer, and often the originating creditor. Second, the assumption must be documented in writing, reflecting an intent to assign both rights and obligations. Some creditors allow formal assumptions, particularly on installment contracts such as auto loans, mortgages, or lease agreements. Others may deny assumption altogether, relying instead on novation or internal underwriting. You must ensure that the creditor not only agrees to the assumption but also agrees to report the account under your name and social security number. Once assumption is complete, the creditor must update the account's legal status and reporting obligations. If the account continues to report under the original debtor's name or mixes historical data across profiles, this may result in serious violations of FCRA Section 1681(2) and furnish inaccurate or misleading information. Footnote. This section outlines the required elements for a legal trade line assumption and the reporting obligations attached to such transactions. 3. Risks of unlawful or informal trade line transfers. You are advised to proceed with caution. Attempting to assume a trade line through informal agreements, verbal promises, or black market credit brokers may expose you to fraud, identity theft, and legal sanctions. These arrangements often lack creditor consent, fail to comply with data reporting protocols, and violate federal consumer protection statutes. Moreover, when trade lines are transferred informally, such as through a private contract between individuals, there is no guarantee that the account will ever appear on your credit file. Worse, if the creditor is unaware of the change, they may continue to enforce obligations against the original borrower, creating legal confusion and dual liability. You must also be aware that using someone else's credit account information without full legal authority may constitute credit profile manipulation, which is prosecutable under the Identity Theft and Assumption Deterrence Act and various federal fraud statutes. Trade lines must originate from actual financial relationships, verified transactions, and consent-based data reporting. Footnote. This section identifies the legal risks and violations associated with attempting to assume trade lines through unauthorized or informal methods. 4. Lawful alternatives to trade line assumption. If your goal is to build or strengthen your credit profile, you are encouraged to consider lawful alternatives to assuming trade lines. These include Applying for secured credit cards in your own name. Establishing credit builder loans through credit unions or fintech platforms. Opening business vendor accounts that report to commercial and consumer bureaus. Using authorized user trade lines for limited score boosting, if done legally and ethically. Becoming a joint account holder on a reporting account, with creditor permission. These strategies allow you to generate your own credit footprint without relying on risky transfers of existing debt. Additionally, some fintech and rent reporting services allow you to report your non-traditional credit activity to the bureaus, such as utility bills, rent, and subscriptions. You are advised to focus on building primary trade lines rooted in your own verified activity. While assumption may appear to be a shortcut, the consequences of improper execution can be severe and lasting. Footnote: this section presents lawful and practical alternatives to tradeline assumption for building a strong credit profile. Before you sign anything or pay anyone to assume a tradeline, make sure you know the legal path, or you could be exposing yourself to fraud, not freedom. Like, subscribe, and download the free Tradeline checklist below. Would you like me to generate a Metro 2 ready Tradeline reporting template, or a sample data furnisher onboarding checklist next?